Thank you, Madam Chairwoman, for holding the committee. This hearing, it's been an important issue, access to affordable capital for our small businesses. I want to thank our witnesses today for echoing the importance of the small business to our economic recovery and the importance of access to capital. This week, before I came out to Washington, I hosted in Illinois, which I represent with Senator Durbin, a roundtable of small businesses who had been participating or were considering working with the SBA lending programs. And some had expressed past frustrations, but also, like many of you today, have expressed hopefulness about the new programs and some of the things that were done in the stimulus. And we really did it to help get the word out. I know one of the questions from one of my colleagues was, is the SBA getting the word out? I know in Illinois they were very helpful in trying to let people become aware of some of the new resources that are available. And I know Mrs. Blankenship, you had been there with us at the press release or press conference at the White House when the president had committed the $15 billion to trying to get additional funding to get the secondary market moving. But I think that was following the AIG bonus fallout, so the press entirely didn't cover it. So in an effort to let some of our community, lenders and businesses know, we hosted a roundtable. It was very well received. The good news that I was hearing from them, and I just want to get your thoughts, was that they are seeing from where, particularly in the secondary market, it had been up at about 328 million per month was the activity. So many of the community banks in our area were finding about roughly half of the SBA loans they would write, they would then move quickly into the secondary market. And as you said, they could then recycle that capital back into new loans. That it dropped off after September with the credit crunch to a low point of only 85 million. And so at a time when businesses needed even more access to capital, there was less available. But from what I've heard, and again, Ms. Blankenship mentioned it in your testimony, we've seen that now get closer to those levels back pre-September in recent weeks. And so that's a hopeful thing. And I know they've also, in talking to Administrator Mills at the SBA, they've really worked to address some of the issues to get the $15 billion moving, and they're just getting training going on that. I just wanted to see if you had any further thoughts about the ARC programs, which will be loans in increments of $35,000 that should start rolling out June 15th to help, and it's something that the chairwoman and many of us on the committee have long advocated for, is to allow businesses who have been longstanding, ongoing, profitable entities, sometimes businesses that have been around for generations, who've seen their credit lines dry up, either taken away or reduced significantly, even without a late payment. And so in response to that, they've had to find other higher cost avenues of credit. This is going to allow them to restructure that debt, get zero interest loans in increments of $35,000. What are your thoughts about that? Obviously, there's limited funding. It's tied to the stimulus at this time. And the other question I have is some of the programs that we've seen that are core within the SBA lending programs are very targeted to new businesses or smaller entities who have less of a direct impact on the job growth than some of our middle market types of companies. Is there more that we can be doing there? To whomever wants to take this.
Well, I'll start. Regarding the ARC loan program, I think it's a great program to help some of those distressed small business customers. But one thing that we have to consider as banks, I think it was the OIG's office had an estimated default rate on those loans of 70%. So I think you're going to find some hesitancy on the part of banks to make a loan that is estimated, have an estimated default rate of 70%. Because again, when we're in this crushing regulatory environment, the last thing we need are more loans to be classified. The second thing is it says that there's still no definition for the term viable. It has to be a viable loan. So I think bankers just need some clarification there so they have some confidence when they make that loan that the SBA guarantee will stand behind the terms of that. But outside of that, I think it's a terrific program. I think we really just need to hold its hand and walk through it and make sure it's working the way it was intended.
I would say on the ARC program specifically, I think it's very important that the bank that has been the lender to that business also be the lender on the ARC loan. I don't think it's a good idea for that same borrower to go to another bank to get that loan. And the reason why I say that is when we first heard about this program at our bank a month or so back, I had 3 different lenders come to me and say, I think I have a borrower that would benefit from this program. And when we talked about each one of them, you could clearly see that they were existing customers of the bank, obviously, had been with us for a year or 2 or more, had proven themselves in terms of being resourceful, resilient borrowers, and that they had a clear temporary need to get through a cash cycle. And so, again, the banker that knows the borrower and understands their business is the most appropriate banker to make that loan. As far as the overall 7A program, and I think it's critical to if we can, extend the waiving of the guarantee fee to make that program competitive with other traditional bank financing vehicles. If that could be done, I think that there would be more and accelerated momentum for 7A loans to get back to where they once were and beyond. The other part of this, though, I think is the outreach to smaller, maybe rural banks that just don't know enough about the SBA programs, aren't confident enough in the SBA programs, not knowledgeable enough to implement and actually make some of these loans.
Time has expired.